2, 1.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for your patience this morning. Welcome to this morning's session as part of the Spotlight on Clean Careers talks that we've got in association with Founders for Schools and STEM Ambassadors. So this morning's session is going to be a little bit different to some of the others we've had if you've attended them. And we're going to be looking at sort of STEM careers or STEM companies and perhaps non-STEM roles that you might normally sort of associate with them. So I'm very pleased this morning to be joined by a couple of speakers. We've got Paul, who is a senior legal manager at SSE, and we've got Nishul, who will be speaking a little bit later. So my name's Steph, and I'm going to be hosting this morning's session. Students, this morning you're going to hear from some really inspiring role models who've got some really great careers, sort of who work in jobs preserving our planet and really sort of impacting the future in a positive way. To those of you at school or in the classroom right now, if you want to ask any questions, you can't use your video and you are on mute. But if you want to ask questions, we've got a live event Q&A where you can sort of speak to your teachers, ask them to type in the question, or if you're at your own computers, you can type them in yourself. So please do ask questions for our speakers. The more you give us, the more we can sort of get out of today's session as well. But that's pretty much it from me, and I'll go over to our speakers in a second. So sit back, enjoy the session, and I hope you learn lots of things about some different careers. So first of all, I just want to thank our speakers for volunteering their time today. We're really looking forward to hearing all about you. So first of all, I'm going to hand over to Paul, who is the Senior Legal Manager at SSE. And Paul, if you wouldn't mind just explaining a little bit about what it is you do in your role. Oh, I think we may have just lost Paul. So I'm going to try and get him back. And Paul is going to explain a little bit in his role about what he does at SSE, working as the legal manager, and a little bit about how he got to where he is, what his career story is, and why he chose to sort of work at SSE. If you just bear with us 1 second, as we are missing our speaker, and hopefully he will be back in. Just come back and join us in a minute. Great, Paul is just coming back in now. So we'll just give him a second to get himself sorted. Brilliant.
Steph,
there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Paul. No worries.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that. I managed to catch the introduction from Steph. Kind introduction. Thank you. My name is Paul Murphy, and I can hear a bit of an echo, but my name is Paul Murphy, and I'm a senior legal manager at SSE. SSE is one of the leading energy companies in the UK, and we focus on trying to help the UK achieve the UK and Ireland achieve a clean energy net zero world. And my role in SSE is to advise the renewables business on some of their major projects in renewables. Primarily, we're working in offshore wind farms, which is very challenging. You can imagine around the UK waters. We've got wind farms as far as 120 kilometres offshore, which we're building. Spending quite a bit of time over the past few years working on a project called the Dogger Bank offshore wind farm, which, when it's built, will be the biggest wind farm in the world, which is fantastic. And they also develop a lot of hydro stations across the north of Scotland as well. So, very much a focus towards helping achieve net zero, and within the legal team, trying to manage the risks and balance those with the opportunities ahead of us, to ensure that SSE can achieve all of its goals in that space. So that's a little bit of an introduction to my role, Steph.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you, Paul. And what made you sort of decide to do this job, or how did you what's sort of your career story? What do you have a particular? Did you go to university? What did you do?
Yep. So I left school probably 25 years ago, and I headed off to university in Aberdeen, and which was I come from Glasgow, so it was a fantastic experience for me to go away to university. That allowed me then to think about how I might progress my career in law. At that point, I was probably more just trying to get a good general career. I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to definitely be a lawyer at that point. I met some good friends at university and did some nice travelling around the world. I was lucky to do that. And then it came to the time for applying for jobs, and I put in my applications for a traineeship, a legal traineeship. And when I went along to the interview, I probably realised that my CV was looking okay. I had okay results at school. I had okay results at university. I'd done some nice traveling. I had played in team sports as well, which helps, and I had good work experience. So I was lucky to secure a traineeship with a big corporate firm, and that then allowed me to do a part traineeship both in Edinburgh, so in London. I was working for large-scale clients, businesses in the UK, and that gave me the opportunity to go on a placement out to one of those clients, and that client was SSE. So this is 10 or 12 years ago. I went on the placement, and I never went back. And yeah, I'm still at SSE.
No, that's brilliant, and I think it's great to see. So you've worked in a couple of different places as well. You've done a bit in Scotland. You've worked in London as well. And do you think that maybe that's, you know, working for sort of STEM companies gives you that opportunity perhaps to work in different places? And have you ever had the opportunity to travel or anything as part of your role?
Yeah, I think it definitely does. There's no doubt about it. Certainly in offshore wind and in renewables, the UK is the leader. But it's a growing industry, and we're very much looking to expand internationally as well. So yeah, that will give me the opportunity to go to different countries. As yet, it has just been UK and Ireland. I worked in Ireland for a while, but yeah, I definitely see that it's a growth area, and becoming, you know, a global business. So.
No, that's brilliant. And I'm sure the past year of COVID hasn't helped with that lack of travel, but I'm sure that there will be one day. Thank you, Paul. I think we'll come back to you in a second with a couple more questions, but we've got Nishul here as well, who's our other speaker. So I'm going to introduce him now and ask him just to explain a little bit about what he does, the company that he works for, and a little bit about kind of your career journey too. So if that's all right, I'll hand over to you now.
Sure, thank you, Steph. So I'm actually in a bit of transition myself, but I'll tell you a little bit how I got here. I graduated from engineering, 21 years ago now, and then I used that, actually decided to go into finance, and I worked in finance for a couple of years, and then I took the opportunity to travel, lived in Australia for a bit, and then I ended up actually falling into a group of people who were just starting a business back in 2002 called Market, and it was to help provide more transparency for what was a very new market at the time, the credit derivatives market. I spent 9 years there. The company went from 7 or 8 people when I joined. After 9 years, I left, there was about 1,500, and the company had grown obviously very well and was very successful. And I got the opportunity to live in New York. I wore a variety of hats while I was there. I worked initially in operations and analytics, so I was using a lot of my math skills, a lot of number work, but also helping to ensure the data was good. It's a data business. And then after that, since then, I've been investing in other startups, and I've also done a startup which failed called Beach Fix, which was helping people find their perfect beach. Unfortunately, that did not be able to have the commercial viability it needed. And then recently, I've actually just decided I'm going to switch to much more focus on full-time investment, and in particular on sustainability and green and climate and nature. So I'm working on, obviously, I don't necessarily have so much strong background in the nature side and the climate, but I do have on investing. So I'm working on the transition.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you're essentially in using your finance, your STEM skills, investing in companies that perhaps are likely to sort of have a positive impact on the world. Is that kind of the idea?
That is the idea. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Brilliant. And so what sort of made you really think that that's what you wanted to do? Was there any sort of particular moment or anything that?
I mean, I'd say recently I've been thinking hard about what it is I want to do. I'd say that I went into finance at the beginning of my career a little bit like I think a lot of people when they graduate, they don't necessarily have a strong idea of what it is they want to do. And then you look around and you see what seems interesting, what interests you and where their opportunities are. And so I went into finance, but recently I've been thinking about where I really want to have impact and what I care about on this planet. And I've realized that I really care about nature and animals and wildlife. And so that makes me think, okay, I would like to do something that has a positive impact in that.
That's brilliant. And that's actually some really great advice you just said there as well, in terms of, you know, when you leave school or when maybe you've gone to university, you study something, perhaps you don't know what it is that you're going to do, and you don't have to do that sort of career for the rest of your life. There are opportunities. I mean, you've mentioned there, you've done quite a few sort of different jobs. You've worked in countries all around the world, which is fantastic. And, you know, you don't have to make your mind up and stick and set with it forever. There can be changes. You can change your career. In your sort of current job, I know you sort of said maybe you were in between or having a little bit of a look at things. This can kind of go to both of you really, but if we start with you, Nishul, and then to Paul, but what does like a normal day look like? What sort of things do you do? Are you in the office? Are you ever out? How does that work?
Well, I've been working from a variety of places for the last 10 years. I haven't actually had a formal role for anyone for a decade, so I've been fairly independent. But typical days, I mean, I'm working from home like a lot of people right now. Although I do miss working in an environment where there's a lot of other people around. But my days, typically I wake up, I think about what it is I want to do that day. I plan my day, I plan it by the hour if I can, because I find putting a schedule together is good. I will be at the moment reading up, spending a lot of time reading and learning, and it's particularly about ocean finances. Currently, I'm reading a report on that. And then another key part of it is talking to as many people as possible who are closer to this space, people who I can learn from and give me advice on how I actually, what things I need to do to actually secure the best type of role that is possible in where I'm looking to get into.
That's brilliant. And what about yourself, Paul?
Yeah, so for me, Steph, the past year and a half, I've obviously been working from home. Typical day for me would be up in the morning, turn on the computer, check the emails, deal with whatever's come in overnight. This is all kind of maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then I have the great pleasure of being able to take my children to school and to nursery, which is a great thing to do, and a real kind of upside of working from home over the past year and a half. Then it's back to the house, and it's just phone calls for most of the day, particularly at the moment. There's a lot of Teams calls, we tend to sort of get together into small groups where we can look at particular aspects of the project, whether that's buying the turbines or hiring the vessels to take the turbines out, then towards the end of the day, kind of 5 o'clock time, it's fairly hectic in our house around as dinners start to get served. So I tend to try to finish up around then where I can. I have to be honest and say that I've probably slipped into a little bit of a bad habit at the moment of checking the emails again, kind of 10 o'clock at night, which is not necessarily something I want to be hugely recommending, but it works for me. So.
No, that's good. And I mean, I guess the working from home life, as you sort of said there, helps you to be quite flexible.
Yeah.
I think so. We're speaking at the moment to quite a lot of young people who are currently sort of in school. If you think back to sort of then, is there any sort of advice or anything you'd maybe give to sort of the young people that we've got or the students we've got on the call this morning? Any sort of future life, career, anything? I'll go to you first, Paul.
Yeah. So I mean, what I would say, probably have a think about your goals. Nish mentioned it earlier, just about what you want to do in life. I would scroll down what you might think is your current goal, and be flexible with that. It can change daily and monthly, and have that in the sort of distant mindset for yourself as to what you want to do at the moment, whether it's exams, results in exams, or anything else. And then I would recommend sort of trying to focus in on creating some good habits that can help you achieve those goals. Even basic things like ask yourself, are you eating correctly? Are you exercising correctly? Are you sleeping well? Are you drinking plenty of fluid? Just looking after yourself so that you can build some nice habits to help you achieve those goals. And then the kind of last thing I would say is just a little bit of improvement every day can add up to a huge amount. So if you've got big things big exams coming up, or projects or assignments, just get started and do just a little bit at a time, because all of those little changes can really build up to help you achieve what you would like to achieve.
That's some brilliant advice. Thank you, Paul. Nishul, have you got anything to add as well?
Sure, absolutely. I remember when I was at school, I had a variety of ideas about what it is I wanted to do. I wanted to be a journalist at one point. I thought about being a doctor, maybe. I thought about being an engineer. I think very much I would suggest definitely follow your interests, see what you like, see what you're good at, but also keep an eye on what opportunities exist in those spaces, and seek and learn about people who are working and using the skills and knowledge about the subjects you're interested in their careers, so you can understand what actually opportunities may come from those. So, I mean, for example, I was thinking when I was 18, I finished my A-levels, I did maths, physics, chemistry, and I was thinking, well, I think I'm going to go and do engineering, but I wasn't really sure if engineering is exactly what I wanted to do. I went to speak to a careers counsellor, and they told me, well, engineers, especially at the college you're going to, are actually quite highly prized in a variety of different fields. So I was actually very encouraged by that, because at that time I thought maybe I want to be an engineer, but maybe I want to do other things. And I thought, oh, great, if engineering is a subject which actually leads me into multiple careers, possibilities, then I don't have to actually make this decision now. I can decide when I actually get to university. And again, I mean, recently I've been thinking again about what it is I want to do. And I'd say about maybe 2 years ago, I had a lot of going on in my personal life, and I didn't really actually have much clarity on what it is I wanted to do in my career. And again, I had to kind of restart and reset and think about what it is that I'm interested in. And a lot of the time, you don't know where something's going to lead. I mean, that is life, right? A lot of times you have an interest and you don't necessarily have a clear end goal of what it's going to lead to and what job it's going to be. But sometimes you've got to trust in the process of actually just doing the work. And as you do the work and as you talk to the right people, some of that stuff becomes clearer down the line. And the most important thing, I think, is right now is just getting yourself set up with good academics and the subjects that you care about. And that will help set you up for opportunities which you can discover later.
Brilliant as well, thank you. And we've actually had a couple questions from some students in the Q&A, so please do continue to send these in as well. But you've both sort of touched on one of the questions that we've had already. But what one of the students has asked us, what research do you do to prepare for your role? Or perhaps you could also think about that in the context of if you're maybe looking at going for an interview or anything at a company. What sort of research would you maybe think about doing to get into that? I'll go to, who wants to go first?
Sure.
Yeah,
sure, I don't mind.
Perfect.
I mean, firstly, obviously, like the world is different from maybe 25 years ago when I was at school. Like, there's obviously lots of information at your fingertips, and that's actually can be quite challenging because you can find yourself opening 15 different articles and 20 different tabs where you're looking at reading lots of different articles to learn about. But generally, what you want to focus on is making sure that if you're going to a role, is that you understand what's happening in that industry. What's the latest events, and there's always specialist publications. For example, I'm reading Climate Action blog at the moment, which talks a lot about what's happening in finance and climate. And then I would definitely also suggest researching the companies you might want to work for, what they do. Ideally, almost the best thing you can do is speak to people who work there already, actually, because they give you insight and understanding which you can't get from Googling around, to be honest. And then also make sure you get to research the people that you're going to be working with as well. I think that's always very valuable and especially important for interviews.
Yeah, I mean, the websites of all of the organisations these days tend to be fantastic and give you a lot of the information, even for people working within the organisation. I find the internet, the internet and very insightful. So that's a great place to start. If it's a particular industry that you're focusing on, and if it's renewables, then there's some great apps as well. I follow a business renewables app, or the news that goes on that app daily, which is very good. And yeah, agree with Nish that speaking to people who might either work in the organisation or know somebody who works in that organisation is very, very insightful. But when ultimately you're going for your job interview, I think it's wonderful if you're able to be yourself when you're there, and it's a real challenge to do that, I think, particularly in an interview setup. So if you've done your preparation and if you've set your goal to get that job, and you've looked into it a little bit each day, and you've improved your knowledge there, then you should hopefully find yourself in a position that you're confident enough to go into that interview and be yourself.
That sounds brilliant. Yeah, thank you for those bits of advice. So we've got a couple more minutes left. I'm hoping we can squeeze in the last two questions that we've got from our students. So someone's asked, how do you use maths in your role? How do you use maths in your career? If you want to quickly answer that one, and then hopefully we have time for the final one too. Nishul, if I go to you first.
Sure. I mean, maths has been fundamental in my career. I mean, obviously I did an engineering degree, but working in finance, if you don't understand, the better you are at maths, just simply the better you're going to do. It underpins everything, and especially as investing as well, because it's all about the numbers really at the end of the day. So maths is very important for me.
Yeah, I think also for me, I mean, you would never hear a lawyer hear that a lawyer would say that maths would be important. We've got sort of specialised finance and accountant people within the organisation, but it is becoming more and more important. There is an expectation that you understand the numbers as well, to be able to provide the correct legal advice. So yeah, very important.
That's brilliant, thank you. And then just a positive final question just to end on before we wrap it up. Someone's asked, what's the most interesting part of your role? So what's your favourite thing about your job? So Paul, if we start with you.
Yeah, the projects we work on are fantastic. You know, there's some of the sort of most interesting projects in the clean energy space in the world. So, you know, there's no doubt about that. But for me, I get a huge amount of satisfaction out of working with my colleagues and helping others and helping people in our team. I've missed that. I've missed not having that face-to-face contact over the past year or so. But that's definitely the bit that drives me is helping others and playing a part in that.
Brilliant.
Sure. I mean, for myself, it's very much when you're investing, you're always coming across all these great ideas for new businesses and new technologies. It's always, you're always learning. It's really interesting. And then also, just like Paul said, actually, it's about the people as well. Like having at Market, like we built a big business, and it just felt, it's incredible to feel like I was part of building something much bigger than myself, and that was very exciting.
That's brilliant. Thank you. It's so great to hear you speak so passionately as well about both of your jobs. But we are actually now at 11 o'clock, so unfortunately that is going to have to be the end of this morning's session. But I just want to say thank you again so much to our volunteers, Paul and Nishul, for some really, really insightful and engaging conversations this morning. That was absolutely brilliant, and I'm sure that all the students at home found that really interesting as well. Thank you to those of you who submitted your questions. It's brilliant to see loads of those coming in. And that's basically it from us today. Thank you so much, and I hope that you have a brilliant rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Cheers.
Goodbye.